I really appreciate your support for what I do. And if you summarize what I do, is I learn things and then I share them with you so that you don't have to go through the process of spending all the years that I spent to learn these very interesting and very practical things. Let me give you just a couple of examples on opposite ends of the spectrum. So, number one, I'm a lab scientist and I've learned how to acquire and run laboratory instruments for the detection and quantitation of glyphosate, herbicides, and heavy metals, toxic elements, and so on. But also on the other end of the spectrum, I study tactical combat training, and I drill with former special forces and former military and so on, and I get trained in everything from combat medic skills to tactical engagement skills, and then I share with you what I've learned in those classes. And a lot of people find this very, very valuable. Some people who are new to our information ask, like, what are you doing? I thought you were the health ranger. What are you talking about? Here's your battle gear, your battle belt set up, and here's the gear you recommend and so on. What does this have to do with health? Well, staying alive has everything to do with your health, by the way. In a survival or an SHTF scenario, as they say, staying healthy, staying alive, staying safe, it has everything to do with your health. It's really just a spectrum. And my job is to learn things everywhere across this spectrum about how to help you stay safe and how to help you stay alive and how to help you prevent disease, enhance your cognitive function, enhance your immune function. All these things, they all go together because it's about your safety. It's your safety in good times, times of peace, and also your safety in times of chaos or social unrest or even times of civil war, for example. All these times require you to have skills and knowledge. And what I do is I learn those skills and I learn that knowledge and I bring it to you. And I got to thank you again for all your support, and also just truly thank God the fact that I was born blessed with some unusual ability to learn things really, really quickly. And I've always been that way. And I don't know what it is, but I've just been able to learn things. I've always been almost ambidextrous on most things too. So I could pick up something with my left hand and do it the same way as I do with my right hand. And that's why today, when I do shooting skills and shooting drills and so on, I do everything left-handed as well as right-handed. And I think it's just, I don't know, maybe some whole brain functioning going on there. Whatever it is, it's a gift, it's a blessing, and I work to use that gift to try to learn practical information and share it with you. And so in this podcast, I'd like to give you a few websites that we publish, our team. We have a very large editorial team. We publish a lot of content every day. I've said this before, but we have also part of our team scans science and medical journals. We currently have over 1,300 journals on our list. We scan them every day, and we look for really important stories about things like natural antibiotics that are being discovered or written up in the medical and scientific literature. And then we write up stories about that and share those stories with you. So some of the websites that you'll find very interesting, by the way, are herbs.news. A lot of these are .news websites. We own hundreds of domains in the .news space. So herbs.news is very good. I think we also have naturalantibiotics.news as well, if you want to just type that out. Although most of those will also appear on herbs.news at some point. On the survival side, we have survival.news as well as gear.news. Now, gear.news is about preparedness gear. That's the focus. It's about, gadgets and gear that will help keep you alive and keep you safe and so on. That's the entire focus of that website. Whereas survival.news will often get more into survival strategies and survival tips and tactics and things like that. A lot of how-to information there. But both of these are very useful. And it's also worth noting that when it comes to a survival type of scenario, it's very important to print out the articles that you want in advance, given that the possibility of a grid down collapse seems to be very high in many potential scenarios that we might be facing in the future, from a cyber war attack on the US power grid to an EMP attack or even deliberate sabotage. The power grid is highly vulnerable, and our society is highly dependent on that power grid, which means that someone wanting to take out that power grid could cause a lot of chaos and social unrest just by taking it out. So it's probably a target of many groups or terrorists or foreign enemies of America, you name it. So it's something to keep in mind. You won't be able to access these websites when you need them the most. So you've got to find the articles ahead of time and print them out ahead of time. All right, in addition to those websites, we also publish science.news, health.news, and medicine.news. And these have a very different focus, by the way. Medicine.news is more mainstream medical technology, including pharmaceuticals, of course, where we tend to condemn pharmaceuticals, but not in every case. There are some breakthrough discoveries in certain molecules and synthetic chemicals that have some interesting applications. So we covered that at medicine.news as well. Health.news is more of a mainstream consumer health website. And there you'll find a lot of practical information for improving your health every single day. And importantly, we cover across the board. We have websites about politics. We have websites about firearms. We have websites about survival. But health.news and medicine.news, of course, do not carry articles about politics or about firearms or the Second Amendment or censorship or things like that. These are very focused websites, as they should be. And then science.news, of course, covers a lot of scientific breakthroughs. It also covers robotics, space travel, astronomy, physics and chemistry, including breakthroughs in telecommunications, microchips, nanotechnology, and other topics like that. Now, what's fun for me is that I get to be the person who decides what gets published where for most of the content. And so I get to review this, and I'm learning every day. It's really incredible. If you think about my, quote, job and what I do, is I'm learning and reading every single day. And it gives me just a really incredible overview of what's happening across all of these realms, from physics and chemistry to astronomy and space travel, health and medicine, pharmaceuticals and naturopathy, herbal medicine, and then also politics, culture, economics, history, and many topics. And so I happen to be really, I think, one of the most extremely well-read, up-to-date people on all of these topics. I don't know anybody else who spends as much time as I do because it's my job. You see what I'm saying? So I'm also blessed with the fact that that's my job, and then I get to distill that information down to a more of a summary format from time to time and share it with people like you, which is what I really enjoy doing. Now, with that said, I think that I'm able to connect the dots among all of these topics more than most people, more than most analysts, far more than any analyst you'll see in the mainstream media. The people that show up on CNN, for example, really are economically illiterate. They don't know what they're talking about. The people who, just mainstream news people are not very well informed at all. And so they miss the big picture of what's happening. Sadly, they're unable to see the truth of what's really happening about many topics. But when you've got this daily intake of all of this information that I'm seeing, these news summaries, for example, you're able to connect the dots and see what's coming and see what's happening and project it into the future. That's why a couple of years ago, just as a good example, I put out a warning that automated kamikaze drones would combine facial recognition with onboard explosive charges to seek out and assassinate individuals, and that these drones could be mass produced very cheaply and unleashed in a city, for example. They could even be used by terrorist organizations to try to take out United States senators or members of Congress or the president or what have you. It's very, very difficult to defend against small drones. And the smaller the drones get, the more deadly they are. They can be assassin drones or kamikaze drones or suicide drones, whatever you want to call them. And so I warned about this several years ago. And since then, the idea has become a lot more mainstream. But it's knowing that that's coming is simply recognizing the trends that are happening in the world, socioeconomic, political, scientific, all these things, portable power, you name it, and then combining those realizations into an intelligent projection about where things are going. And so when I warn you about what's coming economically or what's coming geopolitically, I want you to know that these are not wild ass guesses. These are actually projections of looking at where we are in the world, what's happening, and then being able to connect the dots and push it forward and make some very educated guesses about where things are headed and what might be on our radar next. And it's not just guesswork, it's educated guesswork, you could say. It's beyond just, you're not throwing darts at a dartboard blindfolded. You're actually just tracking the past and pushing it forward into the future and making some really informed guesses about where things are headed. That is extremely valuable, and it also underlies my own behavior and why I do the things that I do in terms of preparedness, which I'll summarize for you again here to share with you. So I see a future where the money supply that we know today ceases to function. I see a future not that far away where we have a cascading domino effect, global systemic bank failure. That day isn't very far off. And I see a day where we have massive social unrest. And because of that, this is why I recommend gold, for example, physical gold and silver, precious metals, or investing in things that are physical and that are hard to have taken away from you, such as land, or firearms, or ammunition, or food-producing land in particular, land that has a water source in particular. All of these things are stores of value. And in my view, things that are not stores of value include dollars, cash, and cryptocurrency. Now, these all have short-term utility. They all may be useful in some way while everything is working. But when things are not working, those forms of monetary exchange have virtually no value whatsoever. Ask yourself, for example, what's the value of Bitcoin when the power grid goes down? And the answer is, it's zero. I also see a time when the social fabric of our modern society is really ripped to shreds, that it no longer exists. And this is why I recommend you get a concealed carry firearm, if it's legal to do so in your area, that you get training, and that you do this in advance of what I see coming. It's not difficult to project all of this. You've seen the lunacy out there, the anger, the hatred that is now seething in the minds of anti-Trumpers and leftists and, the LGBT mafia, the lunacy, the pedophilia, the exploitation of children, the attacks on Christianity and the Bible, and so on. All these things are signs of what's coming. And what's coming is a time of just an incredible breakdown of society. It's a time, what we are going to see is the complete abandonment of the rule of law in many regions across America. And calling 911 will not help you. You will need to defend and protect yourself. And you'll need to have backup supplies. That day is coming. And people who have investments in the stock market, may lose overnight 70 or 80% of that investment. Their bank will have a bail-in. You know what a bail-in is, right? Where the bank says, your money is now our money. We're going to use your deposits to bail ourselves out. It's called a bail-in. And it's legal for banks to do that now. Over the last few years, that was legalized in America. It hasn't been invoked yet, but it will be. And so there's going to come a day where all the money that people have been chasing and people have been thinking that, they're rich, they're wealthy, they've got it made because they have blankety blank dollars in a bank account somewhere, all that ceases to exist. And the only thing you have is whatever you bought ahead of time. The house in which you're living, the land you have, the gear you have, all these things. And I see that coming with incredible clarity. It's just a question of when and what will be the trigger event. We don't know the answers to that yet, but we do know it's coming. And so remember, I'm probably more in the news, in the trends and the analysis of what's happening. I'm probably more in depth in all of that than anybody that you might typically know. And maybe you're like me, and maybe you read a lot of news headlines every day and you do a lot of research as well. That makes us among a very rare breed of people who actually stay informed. The masses are clueless, but people like you and I, we have a good indication of what's coming. And what's coming is not going to be an easy time for humanity. So be prepared. Get ready. It's going to be a difficult time for all of us. And keep reading my websites, naturalnews.com, newstarget.com, gear.news, and all the other websites I mentioned, like survival.news. These sites have information that can quite literally help you save your own life when the day comes that things start to really collapse in a domino effect. That day is coming. So thank you for your support. Thank you for your faith in this process and what I'm sharing with you. And I want to offer prayers for your protection, by the way, as I know you do for me as well. We're going to continue to stay online and publish information and help people as much as we can for as long as we can. So tune in while we have an internet. Tune in while we still have a society that works, because it's not always going to be that way. Thank you for listening. Mike Adams here, the Health Ranger. Be safe and be prepared. Most of the health products and supplements that you buy at Amazon or Whole Foods or grocery stores are never tested for glyphosate, pesticides, heavy metals, or even microbiology. At our store, healthrangerstore.com, we test everything we sell. We offer the cleanest, lab-verified products sold anywhere in the world. healthrangerstore.com, over 700 products for health and home, all laboratory validated and tested for your safety. Check it out at healthrangerstore.com. Thank you for watching. If you want to support our mission, visit us at healthrangerstore.com for the world's largest selection of lab-verified superfood and nutritional products for healthy living. It's at healthrangerstore.com.